that went around yesterday online that a Bitcoin ETF was approved by the SEC and Buffett had bought Bitcoin.
Are you serious?
I'm not joking. This was on Twitter. It was also online. You can go Google it.
What
and I was trying to understand.
Yeah.
It was an April Fool's joke.
But we didn't have to talk about Bitcoin for months, and all of a sudden it surged 17% or 14% in an hour. I think that its market cap increased by $17 billion in an hour. So what are some of the theories out here, Luke, as to what prompted?
Why did Bitcoin move? Was it an April Fool's joke? Was it a random rogue trader fat fingering an order? Was it Santa Claus? Was it the Easter Bunny? Who cares? What's going on, everybody? It is your boy, Crypto Bobby. I hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching or listening in from. And yeah, you probably have had a pretty good day or night, wherever you're watching or listening in from. If you've looked at your Blockfolio, your Delta, whatever it might be, because the entire cryptocurrency market is up quite a bit. And if you are very heavily weighted in Bitcoin, you are probably very happy as well. As we talked about in yesterday's video, Q1 of 2019 was a really good quarter for crypto in general, and I thought was a fantastic sign of momentum. However, Q1 was really led by altcoins. There were a lot of mid to large cap altcoins that were up 25, 50, 100 plus percent. Some of them up multiple 100%, 200, 300%, whatever it might have been. And Bitcoin was up 11% or so in Q1 of 2019. But guess what? It's Q2 and Big Daddy Bitcoin is back. And of course, when you have Bitcoin going from $4,100 or so to over $5,000 in the course of 2 hours, you have mainstream media talking again, from the likes of Bloomberg to Yahoo to CNBC to Reuters to Joe Schmo's blog. Doesn't really matter. Everybody in mainstream media is now talking about Bitcoin again, which has obviously led to the question, is what narrative can we pin this price action to? And I want to go out and continually say this because I think this is an absolutely futile effort. Every time the price movement of Bitcoin happens, there is not always a narrative. There is not always a story that you can directly attribute to that price movement. Sometimes it's Bitcoin. Shit just happens. It happens and it does. There are thin order books. It is a relatively illiquid market when you look at what it is in comparison to other financial products and venues. Nonetheless, mainstream media, the larger financial publications out there, are doing their best to pin the movements of Bitcoin all down to financemagnates.com. And an April Fool's joke, an April Fool's article that they wrote entitled SEC Drops the Bomb, Approves Bitcoin ETFs. Van Eck and Bitwise will be launching Bitcoin ETFs early next month following an emergency meeting the SEC held Saturday. First of all, does the SEC ever hold meetings on Saturday? I don't know. I don't work there. But it doesn't sound like they're holding emergency meetings anytime soon to approve a Bitcoin ETF. Obviously, this was a joke. And the fact that people are saying, hey, you know, this joke came out at 7:37 on April 1st and is due to price action like 14 hours later is absolutely ridiculous and kind of offensive. But that is what it is. Now, there are a couple other options, alternative theories out there that might be a little bit more credible in some respects. Whereas Reuters has come out and said that there was a $100 million buy that was spread out across 3 different exchanges. Apparently somebody, did some type of algorithmic smart order routing across US-based exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken, and Bitstamp. And that single order was about 3 venues, or across the 3 venues was around 20,000 Bitcoin worth. And that individual spread around about 7,000 Bitcoin per each exchange. And that was what initially popped the volume. And that certainly might have some level of validity. Part of that could have been in that scenario. I also think that, number one, there were thin order books in general, especially beyond the $4,200 mark. I also think a lot of people got highly cocky when it came down to shorting resistance at that $4,200 range because, hey, this is the 5th time that Bitcoin's come up against $4,200. And obviously, what do you do after time and time again? You short that resistance, you short that resistance, you short that resistance, you short it until you get absolutely wrecked, and you just crank up the leverage every single time. It was an absolute pleasure watching BitMEX wrecked, or scrolling through the BitMEX wrecked feed this morning when I woke up seeing $8 million liquidations, $10 million liquidations. And I believe there was around $500 million of liquidations on BitMEX in the past 24 hours or so, which is pretty incredible. Long story short, though, there's never one reason why the price of Bitcoin, in my opinion, or cryptocurrencies really will move significantly unless there is just clear correlated market news that actually has some validity. Talking about an April Fool's joke, whatever. Talking about potentially a trader that routed $100 million buy across 3 exchanges, yeah, that might certainly have something to do with it. There's a variety of things, but trying to say this is the reason that Bitcoin moved is, again, a futile exercise. At this point in time, the thing that I am most curious about after this run is, number one, can Bitcoin hold above the $4,200 range? Can we turn that potentially from just really tough resistance into support and that gap up that we went past the $4,300 range? What will happen with that? And if we do hold that range, will Bitcoin continue to lead the charge, or will Bitcoin take the foot off the gas, and will people redistribute some of their profits from Bitcoin into altcoins? Where will the money flow? I think that is something that I'm really interested in, especially after seeing Q1 of 2019, where really the way that it happened was alts led the charge. They really did. Bitcoin was up 11%, but 75% of the mid to large cap alts outperformed Bitcoin against the US dollar in Q1. Could that flip around in Q2? Because when Bitcoin does move, the size of the market capitalization and the amount of money it takes to move Bitcoin is obviously substantially higher than what it takes to move a $100 million altcoin or a $500 million altcoin or $1 billion altcoin. There are obviously different dynamics that go with that. And to that point, if Bitcoin moves up substantially and people are making quite a bit of money within Bitcoin, are they going to take profits back into fiat, or are they going to redistribute that money, allowing it to flow into altcoins? That's kind of what I'm paying attention to right now to see how this situation ends up developing. And as we can see from on-chain FX, nothing so far today in the past 24 hours has outperformed Bitcoin, has really sucked the life in some respects out of the little altcoin rally that we had going for right now. But that doesn't, in my opinion, necessarily mean if you have a bunch of altcoin positions that you need to capitulate out of them and throw all your money back into Bitcoin. I think you want to give it a little bit of time to see how the situation plays out. But over the past 24 hours, Bitcoin being up 16%, basically everything in the mid to large caps is up in the green against US dollars, but in some cases is down 5, 7, 10+% against Bitcoin. So you're losing Bitcoin buying power. Again, always bringing up the age-old debate of profit in USD versus profit in BTC. Which one matters, which one doesn't? One matters in a bull market, one matters in a bear market. And are we slowly climbing out of this bear market? Now, and another thing I think that's interesting too is volume begets volume. We've talked about that before, price action. But you're starting to see mainstream media creep back in with Bitcoin moving, and starting to see my friends, this morning, my buddies that either threw a little bit of money into crypto in like November, December of 2017, January of 2018, who I didn't necessarily tell them to, but they threw some money in. Some of them work on Wall Street, texted me saying, hey man, I saw Bitcoin. I was looking in my Bloomberg terminal and saw what happened with Bitcoin today. That type of mainstream momentum, when it does come, that is what's interesting to watch as well. Because if Bitcoin starts to not only slowly creep up, but go up in these large spurts, you start to see crypto get back into the mainstream media, get back into coverage. And you could see, while it was kind of in a joking manner from the beginning, with Bloomberg and with CNBC, but Bloomberg's like, we haven't talked about this stuff in forever. We just don't even talk about this anymore. Yahoo, like, we don't even talk about this anymore. But price shoots up 15%. People click on this stuff, they start talking about it again, and then you have mom, pop, and grandma buying Bitcoin at the top. So before you know it, we'll have to keep an eye on what the media ends up doing and how things impact that. But will this cycle, probably preemptive to say that it will, because I don't think we're out of the woodwork yet. But if we start to see some continued uptick with Bitcoin, will that cycle continue to move the price of Bitcoin will kind of that volume beget volume, and more people gains beget that. And then in addition to that, one of the things that tends to happen with that, in my opinion, is you have Bitcoin going this run, going a run, usually does. And then people start seeing on Bloomberg and CNBC, oh, wow, Bitcoin is going up. That's impressive, but I missed the boat on Bitcoin. So what is this altcoin that I can put my money into that I'm going to make, the Bitcoin returns on, because I've already missed the boat on that. That's always another thing to watch as well. Would love to hear your thoughts on the market in the YouTube comments if you're watching on YouTube right now. If you're listening on the podcast, please tweet me at crypto_Bobby. Always enjoy hearing your thoughts there. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button and that like button as well. And for those on the podcast, hope you're enjoying the new mic, by the way. For those on the podcast, leave a rating and a review. Helps to get it out to as many people as we possibly can. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck in everything. As always, Crypto Bobby signing out. Hope you have a good one. Peace.